come along with me and let's do a little mystery make-along, shall we? Join your By Crafty bestie for a little bit of game day fun. Let's go.
Show me love, show me love. This is all we
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the start of the 7th annual Game Day Mystery Make-Along event with Marley Bird. As you know, during this event, you get a choice of working on a knit project or a crochet project from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. all before the big Super Bowl game. You don't know what you're making. All you have are your supplies and a link that you go to, which by the way, you'll find in the video description box below, every single hour to get the play that you need. Now, this is a free event available at marleybird.com, and you will go to marleybird.com every hour for your play. Or you could always upgrade to the MVP package and have all of your plays put right inside of your VIP experience in the Marley Bird house. You can find out all of the details again in that link in the video description box below. What you're watching right now is video 1 of the game day event. So this is the 8 a.m. play. I already have my coffee in hand. I've got my supplies right down here. I've also got my chart all ready to go, and I'm ready to show you how to cast on and get started with these instructions. So if you're ready to jump in, have a little fun, a little bit of mystery, and you know you're gonna make something really great, come and join me. It's free. Why not do it? All right, let's dive into these instructions. For the game day knitting project, you need 3 different colors of worsted weight yarn. You want to make sure that you label each one of these colors, either color A, B, or C. For play number 1, we will only be using your color A and your size 9 circular needles. Just a little note here, you will not be working in the round, so if you have to use straight needles, you can, but I like circulars to accommodate the number of stitches we will be using. Along with your yarn and your needles, you will need those instructions. You can find them free over on the Marley Bird website or in your Marley Bird house inside the MVP package. What you're looking at right here is the chart for play number 1. There are also written instructions for play number 1. You can follow either one you wish. I just wanted to point out that if you are following the chart, let's go ahead and move this up a little bit. You want to make sure you're reading the chart from right to left for the right side rows and left to right for the wrong side rows. As you're viewing this chart, you are always viewing it as if you are looking at the right side of your project. So if you see dots on a wrong side row, that means you will be knitting those stitches, but they will look like pearls as you're looking at them on the right side, okay? Whenever you're in doubt, just follow the written instructions, and that will help you out and be a little guide to let you know if you're on the right track as far as reading your chart. You will start reading your chart from the bottom right-hand corner, and as I mentioned, you go right to left and left to right, and you will snake all the way up through row 20. All right. It's after row 20 that you will get up, give yourself a nice stretch, maybe give yourself a little bit of a potty break, and then grab another cup of coffee and get ready for play number 2, which will be released at 9 a.m. over on the Marley Bird website. Just a little side note, that video for play number 2 will not be here on YouTube. It will be linked directly into the instructions. So if you're looking for the video itself, it's linked inside of those instructions. This is the only video that will be on YouTube today. All right, so we have our chart, we have our written instructions, we have our color A. We're going to start off with the long tail cast on. Now, I chose the long tail cast on because I think it's very versatile and it's easy to use. If you want to use a different cast on because you're more familiar with it, you absolutely could do that. This is not the end-all be-all of cast-ons, but it's one that I do really like. You want to make sure that you give yourself enough tail to accommodate the number of stitches you will be casting on. So just kind of guesstimate what that would be for you. Once you have your tail measured out, it's at that point you will put a slip knot directly into your yarn, okay? You want to have your working yarn away from you, your tail closest to you. And if you take your left hand and kind of make like a bang bang, like looking motion, Once you put that slip knot on your needle and you have that bang bang motion, take the working yarn and put it over your finger. Take the tail and put it over your thumb. Now you have what kind of looks like a slingshot or a cat's cradle. You notice that I grabbed the two ends of the yarn right down here just to give myself some tension. And now I'm in a position to do the long tail cast on. If you've never done it before, let's take a look. You take your needle, you'll come over here to the base of your thumb and you're going to slide up your thumb to grab that yarn. Swing over, go to the tip of your pointer finger, go down your pointer finger to snag that yarn. Now, if you were to look right between your thumb, you have this like window right there. You want to swing your needle with that strand on it from your finger through that window of your thumb and then let that loop fall off your thumb. Give the tails a pull and you have just tightened up a stitch. Reposition your hands just like before. Notice I'm hanging on to these stitches here so they don't fall off, and you do it again. Up the thumb, down the finger, through the window, off the thumb. Up the thumb, down the finger, through the window, off the thumb. Up the thumb, down the finger, through the window, off the thumb. Up the thumb, down the finger, through the window, off the thumb. If you're struggling with this, you can do it with two hands, and I want to show you how you would do that. So it's the same motion, it's just we're going to use two hands. So take your working yarn and just hold it in your right hand as if you were throwing your yarn. And then your tail, it's sitting over here. Grab your tail just like this, so your thumb is out here, and just scoop your thumb right around your tail. Let me show you again. Grab your tail, here's your thumb. You're going to go over top, underneath, and scoop it up. So now I look like I have a slingshot, right? But I'm using two hands. So now we go up the thumb, and then just like when we knit, we're going to wrap our yarn around our knitting needle. And now imagine your thumb is a knitting needle and this loop that's on your thumb is a stitch. So we've just wrapped our needle just like knitting a stitch, and we're going to come out that stitch and let it jump off our needle. Grab your tail, scoop that yarn up, and here we go. So this is the stitch on our needle. We're going to go into that stitch, wrap our needle, come out that stitch and off. Into the stitch, wrap our needle, out that stitch and off. In, around, out, off. So you're mimicking the knit stitch, and you're creating a really beautiful knit stitch when you actually do this on your knitting. Go ahead and cast on the number of stitches you need for your project, and we'll move on to the next set of instructions. All right, so I have all of my stitches cast on and I'm ready to move on to my instructions. Well, my instructions let me know that on rows 1 and 2, I am just going to knit. So I've turned my work and I'm gonna go ahead and knit 2 rows. So here at the start, I just make sure my stitch is right up here towards the tip of my needle. I go into my stitch from left to right, yarn over my needle, pull that yarn through that stitch on my needle, and then have it jump off, right? It's very similar to like what we just did. Imagine the needle was my thumb. So I went into the stitch, wrapped my yarn around my needle, out the stitch, and off. We are just knitting stitches all the way down. Now I am holding the yarn in my left hand. It's the exact same motion as if I was holding the yarn in my right hand, but because I know there are some of you who like to see both, let's go ahead and show you what it looks like with the yarn in my right hand as well. Yarn around my needle and out. As I'm going along, I make sure and just push my stitches up my left hand needle so that way they get close to the tip of my needle. It's easier to work in that tapered area, and I can create lovely stitches. I'm also making sure that all of my stitches are the same size as my needle. That will help me keep gauge for this pattern. Now I am going to let you know gauge is not super duper important for this pattern. So I'm not actually having you make a gauge swatch. So you just got a plus, right? How many of you are just like, oh my gosh, this is so great and exciting. But I will let you know if you get started on this project and you're just like, I'm not liking the way it looks, like the gauge is too big or too small, you're going to have to change needle sizes at that point to make adjustments. But you'll also notice that my needles here, I'm using the ChiaoGoo lace needles, which are some of my absolute favorite needles. They have a lovely pointy tip. It makes it very nice and easy to get into my stitches. And the transition from my needle to my red lace cord is seamless. So as my stitches grow and I have the stitches move down beyond my actual needle down to the cord, I don't get any snagging. They're fantastic. I can't say enough good things about these needles. So if you're at all interested, you should absolutely go and check these out. So I finished knitting my first row. So I get to the end of my work. If you've never worked with circulars before as straights, you simply will take this needle that has the stitches on it, right? Place it into your left hand. Now the empty needle goes into your right hand, just like if they were straights, and you begin working again. The only difference between working with circulars or straights, they're just connected down here with the cord. That's the only thing. But it allows you to have room to have these stitches grow. Now I'm going to move along here and knit this second row. Have you do the same thing. When you get done with the second row, your stitches should look a little something like this, look really pretty. You will turn your work and you're ready to start row 3, which is a right side row. For this pattern, all of the odd numbers are right side rows. So as we're beginning this pattern, I am going to let you know that I keep the first 3 stitches on either side as garter stitch throughout the pattern. I do want to make sure you're aware of that. Okay, so that's a big note here. It's all written in the instructions, but I am letting you know the first 3 stitches and the last 3 stitches are garter stitch throughout the pattern. So we start off with a knit 7. So we knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Bring your yarn forward between your needles and purl 1 stitch. Bring your yarn back between your needles and knit 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do that 7 times total. So that was 1. So bring my yarn forward, purl a stitch, bring my yarn back and knit 3 stitches. Forward, purl a stitch, back, knit 3. I'm going to show you that with the yarn in my right hand. Now, don't judge me. I'm not very good at purling with the yarn in my right hand. Bring my yarn forward between the needles and purl 1 stitch. Bring my yarn between the needles back to the back and knit 3. Much slower when I do it this way. Bring it forward, purl 1 stitch, bring it back and knit 3. Don't forget to move your yarn back and forth between the knit and the purl, otherwise you're going to get extra stitches in the form of yarn overs. So there's my purl 1. Make sure that's nice and snug. And then knit 3. I'm going to switch hands again. Now I'm down to my last 7 stitches. I will purl 1 and knit 6. And that just completed my first right side row, okay? It's at this point, if you have stitch markers and you want to keep track of what the right side row is for you, if you want to take your marker and just put it on the front of your fabric here, you could do that if you need a signal of this is my right side, so I'm on a right side. Just every time you turn your work and your needle's down here and you see that marker, you'll know you're on the right side, okay? So I'm turning my work now and I'm ready to begin row 4. So row 4 begins with a knit 3. Remember, I start off with garter stitch on those first 3 stitches every single row. Let me get myself some yarn here. Now I bring my yarn forward and I will purl 3, bring my yarn back and knit 1. And I will do this all the way down to the last 5 stitches. So bring my yarn forward, purl 3, bring my yarn back, knit 1, purl 3, knit 1, purl 3, knit 1. Just keep on going like this. I'm on my last purl 4 now, so that's the last of the last 7 stitches here. So I purl 4 and I end with knit 3, turn my work. This is what I was mentioning. So as I turn my work, I can see my marker there, so I know I'm on a right side, and I'm ready to begin row 5. Now, when we are working through all of these stitches and you're turning back and forth, you could very easily get lost where you are in the pattern. So if you are following along with the written instructions or the chart, like maybe put a little tick mark every time you finish a row, or if you're following along with the MVP package, you have a link to the stitch fiddle chart, and you could actually use the progress tracker inside of the stitch fiddle chart, which is electronic. So if you have your iPad or your computer with you, it's really easy just to have that keep track of where you are in the chart, and the written instructions are at the bottom of the chart for that as well. So you have both of them in one place, and it's real easy to keep track. How is all that feeling so far? Do you think you got the hang of working with the knits and the purls? All you need to do now is continue following the instructions, purling when it says to purl, knit when it says to knit. Remember to mark off your rows whenever they're complete so that you keep track of them, and do not forget to move your yarn between your needles every time you transition from a knit and a purl. Once you get done with row 20, join me back here and we'll take a look at our work and see what is next for us. You got to row 20 and it looks a little something like this. This is called the seersucker stitch. It is a beautifully textured stitch that is absolutely perfect for garments, accessories, bags, home decor, whatever it is. It is a lovely stitch pattern and it is so much fun to work up. So I don't know if you can tell in here, it just looks like sort of some diamonds with a lot of raised texture. And so it looks just like the diamonds here that you see in your chart. And you can see over here, this is my written instruction set that I've been following along, and I made sure to use my highlighter to mark off my rows as they are complete. But that is what your project should look like through round 20. Congratulations, you made it through the first hour of instructions. Now it's time to move on to hour 2. If you have not already, go ahead and proceed to the Marley Bird website, and if it is past 9 o'clock on Super Bowl Sunday, 9 a.m. that is, you should be able to click that link for the next set of instructions. There you will find the written instructions, another chart, and you will find a video. I do want to mention that that video will not be here on YouTube. It is housed elsewhere. So if you're looking for the videos all here on YouTube, you aren't going to find them here. They're all going to be linked in the instructions themselves. Better yet, if you have the MVP package, don't worry about any of that. Everything you need is going to be inside your next module for play number 2. You don't have to go looking anywhere. All right, everybody, that's it for me. I'm excited to move on to the next clue, the next play, because I get to do a little bit of color work, and I'm very excited about that. It's one of my favorite things to do. So I will see you then, everybody. Bye.
We got. Show me